HRN listeners. As we celebrate our 15th year, we are deepening our commitment to giving voice to the next generation of food systems storytellers, and we need your help. Our internship and fellowship programs help activate new possibilities for underrepresented and underestimated young people through experiential journalism, audio engineering, and production training. Through these unique programs, HRN helps food equity stewards build essential workforce readiness skills that expand their potential and foster economic mobility. Please consider supporting these critical programs. And with a minimum donation, you can be entered to win a dinner for two at an amazing restaurant in one of 8 cities and tickets to a concert at a great venue in one of those cities. We have incredible partners across the country who have donated, as they also share our passion for helping to educate the next generation of food systems storytellers. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. And make sure you donate before March 31st. Thank you.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network. Since 2009, HRN podcasts have been exploring the wide world of food, beverage, and agriculture. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org.
This episode is brought to you by PASA Sustainable Agriculture. Register now for PASA's 2024 conference in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Don't miss over 70 educational sessions on farming and food systems, plus an expansive trade show. Learn more at pasafarming.org/HRN2024.
Hey, welcome to Beer Sessions Radio on Heritage Radio Network. Hey, I'm Jimmy Carboni. I'm the host here. And you know what? This is our 15th year. It's 2024, 15th season of Beer Sessions Radio. We'll be celebrating the 15th anniversary of Heritage Radio Network. And it all started here in the backyard studio at Roberta's Pizza in Bushwick. So this is a fitting way to start the year. I couldn't think of a better place to be. And I'm here with one of the co-founders and owner of Roberta's Pizza himself.
I'm glad I get to be your first show of the year. Usually I'm like your last show when you're like just sick of it and you want to get rid of everybody.
Well, you know, there's something about coming here, and there's nothing like having the guests that we have. So before I talk too much, let's go around and everyone introduce themselves. So I'm Jimmy Carboni. I'm the host of Beer Sessions Radio.
I'm Brandon Hoy. I'm the owner of Roberta's.
Yep, James Ty, principal of Beer Acolyte Consulting and Gun Hill Public House in Industry City, Brooklyn.
Mike Amadei, Director of Operations at Roberta's.
I'm Jaime Asao from Chile. I used to have restaurants and a brew pub in Chile.
Jaime, what's your real last name, though, before we go on?
Ojeda.
Jimmy coined him pre-show, like he's giving him a wrestler's name. So he's also, I don't know, nobody can see because this is radio, but he's in full spandex. And
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, he looks like the ultimate warrior.
This is Jaime Asao. He's here. He's going to be making a name for himself in New York. And we're going to talk, that's what we're going to talk about this year. What's going to be hot this year in New York. And again, it's fitting to be at Roberta's because to me, this is where some things are happening from, you know, the first pizzas and everything. Let's start with how this place started and some of the first dishes that really took off.
It is the birthplace of pizza.
What the history is of Roberta's and why it means so much to all of us here. So.
Yeah. Hey, we started in 2008 and, you know, just some dudes trying to do something other than get wasted and, you know, wake up in some strange person's house at 6 a.m. So the pizza thing came because we really loved, you know, like Frank Pepe's and like New Haven Pizza. And what we liked about it was the style of dining, right? It's a place that brings people together. And if you've ever been to New Haven, you know how like New Haven Pizza, it's very communal. Like everybody in town goes like 3 times a week. So it's a place, it's not like New York style pizza where a lot of New York style pizza is slice. It's a very transactional kind of way to eat pizza. It's like you go in, you get your slice, you maybe stand around, but you're not like sitting at a table with people. So we really wanted to bring that back. There was only a handful of people that were doing it. There was Grimaldi's and Patsy still was doing it, but it was like really the old school Luzzo's,
John's on Bleecker.
John's, Maturo's. It was just it was still like a really tight community of people, and we were by far the outsiders. There wasn't, we were like kids and they were like the old guard, and we weren't really like trying to break into that scene, but that's what we were trying to do. We wanted a place where people in this neighborhood, there was a lot of cool, like creative people. It was a very diverse neighborhood. There was a lot of artists, musicians, fucking weirdos, like the weirdest people ever lived in this neighborhood. Like wearing underwear on their heads, and I don't know what kind of weird shit they're doing, but it was bonkers. And really, we wanted a place where a watering hole where we could bring all these kind of weirdos together. And we felt like pizza was really the thing, because it sits in the middle of the table. You all reach in for it. Everyone shares. And in the early days, everything was like very shareable, communal style. And we really were trying to push the boundaries on the way people looked at pizza, what you could do on toppings. We weren't traditionalists. We weren't like following some Italian DOC. We were really just some dudes just trying to make good food at a very high quality. We were growing vegetables on the roof of this building that we're sitting in, that was and in the backyard. We were just doing DIY kind of just weird stuff, and the beer program was the same thing. In 2008 there wasn't really a huge craft like bar scene happening here, so we were just trying to find local people that were doing cool stuff. Most of it was happening upstate. There wasn't a ton like there is now happening in Brooklyn. And kind of the wine program, same way, just looking for sustainable stuff that was things that we could relate to philosophically. And that was kind of the impetus. And I think you set the beat, right?
Well,
and
what
someone else plays drums.
Coming into the beginning of the year, we're going to come on strong. Everyone in this room has cred in the industry, and we're going to let them establish their cred for our listeners, because then we're going to talk about how great this year is going to be for all of our businesses and the endeavors that we do. So I'm going to jump to Mike, because Mike, I first met you were running Torst, that great first beer bar. You went out to Las Vegas. Your operations genius, and now you're here at Roberta's. Yeah. Just tell us what you're doing. A little overview of what Roberta's is now, so people can understand.
It keeps me from going crazy. Is really.
So I've always loved Roberta's, and when I was coming back to New York, I was super excited to be able to work with these guys. I first actually started coming here for this very show, actually, with you. Always appreciated the beer menu. The food was always great, and just always such a cool place to hang out. So, there's a lot of kind of cool stuff happening at Roberta's. We have our spot in Bushwick. We have a spot in Williamsburg now as well. Each of the locations has like a little bit of a different vibe. The one in Domino, Williamsburg location is kind of like a grown-up version of the Bushwick spot. We have Foul Witch now, which is kind of elevating food even more. Still staying on like the Italian side of things, not super traditionally, but always amazing wine. And they have a really good beer list there also.
One thing, Mike and Brendan, one thing I love about Roberta's, it's always evolving in a good way. But it's also like,
it's not always in a good way. Sometimes it devolves as well, and then you have to pick it back up from the ground.
Well, reinvention. But you've got you come for the pizza, but then it's like I fall in love with the entrees, the meat dishes. Now I'm always getting all the vegetable dishes, and of course the pasta. How is that balance? Did you guys try to get that balance, or it's just like letting the kitchen do their magic, or the customers just respond?
I think a lot of it is just giving autonomy to people who are good at their jobs. And I think, throughout the years, we've had some incredible chefs here who've gone on to do great things. And I think it's just giving them, empowering them to like kind of see the menu in their eyes. And some of them, their strengths are vegetables. Some of them, their strengths are proteins. And I think that you see that with the menu, it kind of ever evolves. Carlo also, my partner and kind of the main chef, always looking over on things. He's also like goes through these phases where he's just like, all he wants to do is protein, and then it's just like all he wants is vegetable. So it's like you kind of also just see the experience of like where his head is at. So and then there's just like outside influences. Like here, we're opening Blanca back up, which has been closed since COVID. We've been closed, the whole time since COVID happened, and we're opening that back up with Victoria Blamey, and she's been around campus, and it's like having another chef like around for people to bounce things off of. It's just ideas start to like percolate, and I think things happen kind of naturally when there's a lot of creative people around.
The other thing is, like, for a long time, I think the sort of like the inside track here was always that back kitchen, right? Like the place is known for pizza, but like people in the know know that pasta is amazing here, and the bread program is amazing here, like all of the bakery stuff. It is amazing the amount of people that work in every facet of the industry throughout New York City and everywhere else, really, that have been through these kitchens here. Like a lot of the guys that I worked with at Torst and subsequently too have been through these kitchens, and I called all of them when I was thinking about the.
We're kind of slutty.
Yeah.
We're a very open door policy here. just come in, leave something,
No, it's more communal. That's the way I would.
Thank you. That was very nice.
And now we're gonna go to James, because James, since it's the beginning of the year, let's talk about this beer, because this is the first beer I'm drinking on air for 2023.
Nice.
What is it?
So this is the Wild East. It's their dark mild. What's it? Temperance. Thank you. Yeah, it's great people. I think they're making some of the best beers in the city. I think Brett Taylor, like a lot of kudos to him. And so this is a beer that uses typically a little bit of under-modified malt, the beer style. So you're going to get like these cooling elements to it. It might have some matcha tea, a little bit of cucumber. I think it's coming through in this particular beer as well. Very low in terms of hop drive bitterness, not a lot of hop aromatics and flavor. It's a very easy drinking, as the kids say, sessionable beer. It's actually one of my favorites, both the style and this particular commercial example.
Yeah, kudos to Roberta's. I don't know who's doing the beer list now. Is that you, Mike?
No.
Yeah.
I am certainly helping drive the ship, and we are definitely making a focus this year in kind of rededicating ourselves to like making sure that like really good high-end craft beer is available here at all times, and we especially love all of the people in New York City that are doing a great job, and we'll bring in everybody that's doing particularly good examples of craft beer outside of
talking about 2024. Like for me, a lot of times, I mean, I'm spoiled. I've been in the industry my whole adult life. When I go out to I call them regular places because you know what I mean. It's like I sometimes can't get a decent glass of wine. I can't get a decent glass of beer, and I don't mean it's cheap. You know what I'm saying? The mouthfeel and the production, however you want to describe that, and hopefully you guys can tell us. I think one goal today is to say what is a good drink, what is good food. That's always.
But I think that problem just comes from oversaturation. I think the operators have a very difficult task because this day and age there is so many options. When it comes to wine, beer, it's if you're not fanatical or you don't love something, it's really hard because there's just too much out there.
Yep.
Yeah, not even that it's hard, but it's actually obvious. If you see that, you see a program that's out there, and you can see like there's not a dedication, there's nothing conscientious about that program. It's very evident, when you walk into a place.
Well, I just want to say again, seeing that this English Dark Mild 3.1% beer from Wild East or Friends is on tap here It's January. It's exactly what I want to drink. So great job. And now, Mr. Jaime Asao. You tell us your creds, because you've had restaurants, you had a brew pub. Because
we started a brew pub 8 years ago in Chile. We sold it like 3 years or 4 years ago, and we got there when there was no much around. So we have to fight with educating and trying to put a product that was completely different, and we got all those fights that you got in the beginning when it's something new. On the side, we had a different project that it was completely different. It was a big restaurant, and we took it over because it was closed, and it was a big patio. So we had no idea how to fill it up because it was so big. So we decided to open first all the parking lot, and we decorated as a huge garden, and we invite food trucks. And so we started like that, and then we opened the kitchen side and work it all out. But in the beer industry, I've been 20 years collaborating with different projects and trying to do different things with different people and trying to show beer and educate about beer.
And now you're in a place where you want to open up a Chilean asado upstate.
Yes. We got to I just arrived to New York a couple months ago, and the idea, or mainly idea, is just to find a farm upstate New York, just to do events for small amount of people and just to barbecue, not just to feel the meat. It's just like the event the social event asado means, because it's like a eating all day kind of thing, and like sharing and it's a social event more than just eating a piece of steak.
And we're trying to get them to do that exact thing here at Roberta's in the backyard this summer.
Well,
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Have open flames. Let's just don't burn the place down. But usually, sometimes we get a little too drunk and a fire gets awry. What's happening over there?
Live fire cooking is hot. So tell us who inspired you. You know, we as Americans might know one of the famous guys from Paraguay.
On beef, talking about
your asado friend. Francis.
Oh no! I mean, Francis Momon is one of the most, known, especially in Argentina, because he's Argentinian and has restaurants all around the globe. But it's the way everybody cooks. He just put him in a different level, and I love his restaurants and everything. But we're trying to do something more like casual and more cozy asado vibe, more like friendly, not like so combined into a high class restaurant, more like casual vibe.
So you would say something like a Roberta's of asado, then that's essentially
something like that.
Yeah.
Like, how about this? If there's a grill and we're standing around, can you feed me pieces of meat as it cooks?
That's how it works.
That's what I like. That's what nobody does, Brandon.
Yeah, just feeds you meat.
Yeah.
Nobody does this.
I get that, Brandon. There's no restaurant doing it. Because you've got, I've been to places where I've got a chef friend, I'm not going to say names, the brisket comes out of the oven, you get the fresh slices, and it's unbelievable. And then it's something like, when it gets to you in the restaurant service, it's not the same. And there's nothing like having someone on a grill with the seasoned meat. It's probably lamb, right? Is that your preference?
Beef or lamb. Pork is good too, but on my preference, I love lamb. I love beef, and when it's well cooked, you just need more than salt.
Yeah, if we could just stand around that grill, and then we'd have a little counter, and we keep getting little drinks, and you keep getting little plates of meat as it comes out.
It sounds like gout.
But it's all small portions. That's what 2024 is about.
Yeah.
Small portions, drink and eat all night.
Because if you did that to me, I would fall asleep there, just overloaded on beef and wine.
It is like,
but happy.
There's one idea.
I'm always happy, but I would.
Mike, there's one Japanese steakhouse theme that never took off in New York. It opened, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago in the East Village. It's the stand-up steak restaurant. because when you're standing up, you can actually eat more. It's better for your digestion. So if there's a grill in the backyard and he's cooking it, if you can stand up, it's like a bistro. You put your elbow on the bar.
As a long time like restaurant operator and just have been in this industry my whole life, I trained myself I eat over a garbage can. Even at my house, I eat over the sink. Like, I never sit down to eat. I'm pretty much, you find yourself trained in this way where you just, I eat standing up so often, and usually away from people, like where they can't see me, because I'm just like with my hands, like just eating the ripped ends of something, like trying for nobody to see me.
Did you ever come home and find a half roast chicken in the fridge, just open it up and eat the whole chicken from the fridge?
It sounds like you have a lot of experience with this, and even if I did, I wouldn't have remembered it, because there would have been a lot of other things that happened previous to me opening the fridge.
Brandon, what's fun about today is that everything's loose. It's the first of the year, and you always keep it going. But I know you love food, and I know you love to eat. But you are that kid that would just eat everything, right?
I would. It's funny because a lot of people that work here actually have never seen me eat. And it's like the all elusive thing. Like, have you ever seen Brandon eat? Because I do, like, I really truly do eat this way. I'm just like, I hide, and I'm just like, just like
eat
with
like
my
a
hand.
pirate?
Yeah, totally like a pirate.
Let's talk about your places. So the New York City operations of Roberta's, you said before you were at Domino.
Yeah.
Which is the Williamsburg location. So when you were there, did you grab a bite of food? Did the chef give you a piece of something on the way out?
I have not ate all day.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I haven't. But you know, like by the time I do eat, it's gonna be bad.
So what were you working on? What did you do with that stock of Midori? And Midori is weird. James, have you ever made a drink with Midori?
I personally have not. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sal, have you made a drink with Midori?
I haven't been that lucky. No.
I think last year there was this like kind of like some of these 70s drinks were starting to come back into the zeitgeist, and they were recirculating. And to be honest with you, I think somebody just fucked up and ordered too much Midori, because we're fucking sitting on a lot of Midori over there.
It's cheaper if you buy 4 instead of 1, right?
Yeah.
Probably Mike, right?
I mean, hey.
In my book, any Midori is too much Midori.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what happened, but definitely something crazy happened. But, you know, I was looking around. I was just trying to figure out what to do with this Midori. And, you know, we have another restaurant, Foul Witch, and we're getting our liquor license this month. And, you know, our manager, Cameron, over there, he owns a restaurant in Maine, too, called Regards. Very, very good. He's a very smart, intelligent guy. He makes great cocktails as well. He was like, just randomly, he didn't even know I was like staring at Midori. He was like, sent me the recipe for the Japanese slipper, which is a late 70s, I think early 80s cocktail, Midori, Cointreau, lemon juice. Very simple. And, you know, it's like a under the radar kind of like 70s classic. And I thought, wow, this is like just weird that he sent this to me, because I'm like sitting in here looking at all this Midori being like, what the fuck do I do with this? And you know, there was a bunch of bottles of yuzu, so I just tried to make a play on the Japanese slipper, and I did Midori, Cointreau, yuzu, and then Kato, who I think we've been,
that's right, Kato Saki out here in Bushwick.
Yeah, we did radio together, I think all of us together. The Nama, which is kind of like you know, a fruity, like dry. It was actually perfect. I was like, we had a few cases of that, so I did.
I like the number 7, the Nagori.
The number.
Just so you know, that's all I remember.
Yeah,
and
I'm surprised you remember it.
Well, I barely remember
that
location
day.
So dirty,
next to KCBC, off of the Jefferson stop. So if you're coming out to Bushwick, you got to go to Roberta's. You got to go to Kato Saki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well,
so that was the move. I've been trying to be over there more. Like Mike said, it's hard when you have multiple restaurants, the same name, very close together, but they're very different. I always say that like these restaurants are like children. They have the same DNA, but they grow as they get older. They separate, and they're very different. They're two very different restaurants with the same name. They just happen to have Carlo and I's DNA in them somehow, and it wasn't nasty. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Go around.
Kind of sounds gross. Yeah.
So at the Domino location in Williamsburg, would you have the same salad? Would you have the same pizzas? Would you have the same specials?
We have items that are always going to be the same. There's like, we're going to have very similar salumi and things. We're going to have, the meat and cheese, charcuterie, like in the charcuterie section, a lot of that same stuff. We usually always have the little gem salad and, the 4 kind of basic pizzas. But outside of that, it's a completely different menu than we have here.
Those are based on the chefs that are working in those restaurants. They're bringing all of their experience to bear on that property, which that's what makes that property unique. Yeah.
And Mike, is this the first time you've managed more than one location?
Yes.
Because I always feel like that must be a huge learning curve.
Yeah. It's Roberta's itself has been a huge learning curve. There's so much going on, even on this property alone, because there's the takeout spot and the bakery. In the summertime, the backyard is just activated all the time with concerts and weddings and
and Jimmy.
And Jimmy, yes, exactly.
Asado.
Asado.
Yeah.
Coming this summer.
And then, then there's the restaurant itself, and then there's the tiki bar, which also gets activated. Like in December, we did an entirely new pop-up restaurant and bar with its own food and drinks. So there's a lot just on.
So where does the food come out for that?
Out of the teeny little, like 9 square foot kitchen in the back of Roberta's.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it true that when you first started, you guys, because I know you put in a new pizza oven, the first pizza oven, did you build around it? Is that how it first started?
No, well, the first pizza oven came from a small town in Italy, in northern Italy, called Fusano. And it's a Pavazzi, same oven that's here today. It was the first one actually in America. We shipped it. We bought it from some sketchy Italians. We shipped it DHL, and they lost it. Lost in air quotes, because they were just holding it ransom until we gave them more money. They extorted us. But when we got it in, the front was kind of like fully open because this was like construction place. So once we put it in, it was kind of stuck here. We brought it in with a forklift through the back, actually through those double doors right there with a forklift, and then brought it in and dropped it, and then we built the place around it, and then it was like we couldn't get it out. So we had
So a couple years ago, didn't you put a new one in?
Yeah, we knocked the wall down.
Oh yeah. Literally, you took the wall down, took the old one out, and brought the new one in.
Yeah, and then rebuilt the wall.
Yeah. And I was pissed because you were closed for, was it one day?
One day.
One day.
One day.
Wow. Where was the second one from? The same Italians?
No. We actually bought it from Pavazzi, the manufacturer, which if we would have known, I would have done it the first time. I didn't need to buy it used.
Well, you learn a lot. There's something about you got a lot to teach people about opening places, and it's still amazing that you're here now. This is what, your 16th year or 15th year?
16.
Yeah, 2008.
Our Sweet 16.
Congrats.
We're gonna have a party back here. It's gonna be like, somebody's bat mitzvah in the back,
Well, that's what, James, I just wanted to appreciate you, man, because, I've known you for so long. Your creds are high. You're advanced testosterone. You're many things. When I look at your Instagram, I can't even figure out all those initials that signify your accreditations.
Come on.
What are they? You're like, was it MSET or WSET?
So there's WSET certification. Actually working on, maybe it's a little bit too early to talk about, but being an online tutor for their upcoming like beer certifications as well. Again, Cicerone certifications, BJCP certifications, a lot of sensory training.
So you're kind of the professor of this industry.
He's like a doctor.
You're becoming the
of beer.
professor.
No, I'm just kind of, I don't know what I call myself. I'm just a continual student of the industry. That's what I would say.
Yeah. You have the right attitude all the time. And Gone Hill Public, man.
Yep.
Last year we had a rye event with rye whiskey, rye grains, Cassoulet. And really, it was great to get introduced to Industry City.
Yep.
How's it going? You've got some cool stuff going on there. But what's it like running a brew pub in a big place like Industry City?
It comes with a lot of advantages, but at the same time, certain challenges as well. It's great. I think it's an awesome complex. I think the operators are fantastic. I think a lot of the tenants there are great. It provides just a plethora of different distractions for anybody, any group at any given time. And so, we see a lot of different people, that walk through the doors. And we appreciate everybody that comes through, and we have great conversations and obviously great drinks as well.
What's your drink for 2024? We start off the Wild East, the English Dark Mild.
Right, I would say whatever's in front of me. I think that's my drink. I think everybody at the table would agree with that. So, yeah. I think you never want to be that one person. I learned this early on, and I don't want to get too kind of dark or too negative, but you never want to be that person that just kind of refuses a drink, that it just it takes away from the vibe. I don't know what you're trying to prove at that point. If someone's offering you something, please accept it, with full heart and just really appreciate that moment.
I just actually had this conversation with Jimmy's wife. When somebody tells you they're not drinking, it's just their way of convincing themselves that they're really not drinking. Because if you're really not drinking, you don't have to tell anyone. You're just like, no, I'm good. But you don't come out and say, hey guys, I'm not drinking.
Right.
Because if you're saying that, you're just saying it to yourself. Really, I'm not drinking.
Definitely.
Who are you convincing?
It's not anybody else, because most people don't believe you. They're like, yeah, sure.
Thank you, because that's where I wanted this show to go. This is the January show, and we are talking about drinking. So,
of course.
Mike, for you, you brought I asked you guys to bring something that you're drinking this year. You brought something.
Yeah, my drink of the year, one of them anyway, is going to be Genepi. And this is a great example of it. This is from January Spirits. And these guys are right here in Bushwick, right around the corner from John and Lucky. Two guys I worked with at Torst, as it happens, but the spirit is actually amazing. So it's a alpine herbal liqueur. It's like a digestive. When you get down to the bottom of it, it's 50% alcohol, so it also packs a punch. But it's herbal. It's sweet, but not overly sweet, and it's just delicious. Yeah, it's like a walk in the forest.
All right. Well,
so I'm gonna pour a little right now.
Right. Stop talking. More pouring.
Yeah.
And then Mike, while you pour,
I think and then I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that I think a future trend, if it's not this year but soon, I think more kind of geographically centralized liquors like Genepi, which is a northern Italian. It's usually in the Alps, right? So they're foraging for alpinous berries, juniper, right? And I think things like this, I'm going to Montenegro next week to look for rakia.
Salute.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with it's a Balkan. Cheers to everyone.
Cheers.
It's a Balkan liqueur, usually made with grape, plum, or apricot. So, but I think a trend is going to start going towards these kind of single origin liquors. You really saw these big jumps, right? In the early 2000s, Amaro really kind of took this real big leap, right? People coming back to these kind of more medicinal kind of digestive and bitters and all that stuff kind of made a comeback. Mm-hmm. Even something like mezcal, right? Which is such a very specific to Oaxaca, like such a very
terroir
driven. Yeah, it's like from a place that it's like that took like such a big jump. And I think there's a lot of these really interesting things, whether it's grappa or genepi or arakia, like
agricole rum. Yeah.
Calvados. Like there's these things that are just very, very specific to regions that I don't think get a lot of play in America. And I think that's you're going to start seeing that trend happening more, not just in like cocktail making, which I think is the easy way into it, but just people enjoying it, like as
here
a
to
drink.
you, man. I have to
Appreciate it,
say that for me personally, I like the high quality pure spirit or Amaro, just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like too often the cocktail just dilutes it.
Yeah.
And I don't need this diluted. This is amazing.
I'll tell you what, though. The
I have
cocktail,
a cold. Wait, Mike, I have a cold, and now I feel better.
Yeah, that's it. This is exactly what you need.
The thing is like you need the cocktail from a certain standpoint to really introduce people to it. So people don't really start to like look at it as a thing to drink like this. They see it in cocktail lists, and they like Cital or something like that. And it's like if you see it over and over again, then when you see it on the shelf, you're like, you know what is that thing? Like it sometimes takes a long time for people to really digest it.
Right, yeah.
And when it's in a cocktail, you kind of start seeing it over and over again. And then I think it starts to pique more people's interest. Now, there's fanatics and weirdos like us who search out adventurous drinking, but for most people, their introduction to some of these kind of offshoot things is really coming through a cocktail list. Even sake like wasn't incredibly popular until the Sakatini and until like Americanized kind of version, at least in America, right? Until the Americanized kind of version of like they were putting it in cocktails, they were doing interesting things with it. And I think like there's all of these steps. Mezcal, best by itself. I don't need a cocktail. I just want to drink mezcal with some fruit.
So how did people get into mezcal though? Like, given that, I mean, I love mezcal, and again, I'm one of the weirdos that you speak of, but like in terms of like how it gained traction, like can you speak to that?
I think it became a substitute for tequila. So a lot of the just kind of, a regular person, their introduction to it was it being substituted in some sort of margarita and presented as the smoky version, the bourbon of tequila, and I think for most people, their introduction to mezcal was through a cocktail versus, just drinking it straight. Like, anyone that drinks mezcal kind of regularly would just be like, I don't need the cocktail. I just drink it. Yep. I just want it. It's like bourbon, a very good bourbon. I'm not trying to make a cocktail out of it either. There are things that you want to appreciate, the like craft that it took to actually make that thing. Like this Genepi is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
And usually for Genepi, it's incredibly viscous and sweet, and it's almost like if you go to Italy, it's like really, really hard to drink. Like even some of the best that I've had, it's very like thick.
Yeah,
and,
right.
It's like a medicated simple syrup.
Mike, do you guys sell this here, the Genepi?
We do, yeah.
So I can get a glass of it afterwards.
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, we started with it at Grinchy's, our holiday pop-up. We were our pastry chef Emily was making marshmallows with it, and then we were using that in a hot chocolate that had chartreuse in it, and then marshmallows made with Genepi. We also have it available for drinking straight.
Another theme of today, which Brandon wants to learn more about, the international drinks judging, which I know James does, and Jaime Asao does.
I only want to know because I want a job. I want to do this.
Well, first, James, it's a tough job, James. The spirit we just drank, and Mike, you're up there too in that league. Break it down for us. I mean, there's a lot of complex flavors here. There's bitterness. I like it. I think I just chewed on a black peppercorn too.
Yeah. Mike, you want to talk first?
Genepi is it's made with alpine herbs with the same genus of like wormwood, so from absinthe. So it's a lot of those very bitter herbs that come from high altitudes, and then steeped in some sort of high octane alcohol. Basically, could either be vodka or pure spirit,
Spiritus,
and then
often
and sugar.
Yes.
Yeah, and sugar. But yeah, that's what's cool about this one in particular, because you do have the body, which is important. You want the body to be to hold up, but doesn't feel overly sweet either. Everything's kind of in balance, and you get the flavors, and the bitterness comes through, but it's also sweet, but not overly, and just everything's perfectly balanced.
Yeah, you get kind of like some of the like Underberg like grit, like the peppercorn was good that you picked that, because it's like it's not just spicy in an alcohol way, it's like almost spicy in the mouth, like in the front of the mouth, versus like down when alcohol where it's just like hitting your chest. But yeah, this is amazing. It's
this guy Jaime Asao, when he's here this summer, not only can he grill lamb and pork on your little grill, and you can have pieces of the taste, he's going to pour you little shots of Genepi.
Yeah.
Nice. Or pisco.
Good too.
Wow. Hey, we're going to just take a short break and be back in a few minutes on Beer Sessions Radio. All right.
Want to cultivate farms and food systems that nourish, heal, and empower? Register now for PASA's 2024 Sustainable Agriculture Conference. Discover resources, services, and products at our expansive trade show, and explore more than 70 educational sessions on climate-smart practices, food justice, soil health, and more. Featuring a dynamic lineup of speakers including Reginaldo Hasle Marroquin, farmer and founder of the Regenerative Agriculture Alliance and CEO of Tree Range Farms, and Reverend Dr. Heber M. Brown III, pastor, community organizer, and founder of the Black Church Food Security Network. Find your community at PASA's 33rd Annual Conference in Lancaster, Pennsylvania on February 8th through 10th. Register now at pasafarming.org/HRN 2024. That's PASA farming.org/HRN 2024.
Hey, welcome back to Beer Sessions Radio on Heritage Radio Network. Wow, this is our first show of 2024. We're back in the Mothership, Roberta's Pizza in Bushwick, Brooklyn. It's also our 15th season coming up, and celebrating 15 years of Heritage Radio Network and 16 years of Roberta's Pizza. So let's make a toast. Our friend Mike Amity here, Operations Director. Roberta's brought out the Genepi. Mike, tell us again, what is this? And is this made in Bushwick? Because this is what's amazing. Last year at this time, there was a guy making an Amaro somewhere in New York who you guys have on your list or had on your list.
St. Agrestis?
St. Agrestis. We've got Kato Saki. A lot of people are making different drinks in New York.
Fort Dave is also making bitter Amaros and some other cool things right here in Bushwick also. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in New York.
Yeah, but who are these guys?
January Spirits. So they do right now. They really just started. I think they're about a year or so in. They do a Genepi. They do an Amaro, like a coffee Amaro, basically. And they also have a gin. Those are the three things that they're selling right now. They go through. I think they were self-distributing, but they're with one of the large warehouses now. So like bars and restaurants in New York can get them delivered. And they don't have. I think they're basically doing their own sales, but it's just two guys, and they're making really great stuff.
And then you have 4 bottles of Midori at Domino. How many bottles of this do you have here?
I think I have 12, but
but who's counting?
How many bottles of this do you have at a time?
In Bushwick, we have a couple cases of this. Yeah, we're going to get it to Domino as well.
You think that there's some like kind of crossover because they're making gin, that they were making gin. Were they making gin first? And then
I think they started with Genepi actually.
Oh,
yeah.
Because it makes sense to then make gin or Genepi, right? Because a lot of the same like herbaceous roots and like all of that stuff can go into gin. So
yeah,
I'm wondering if the collection of herbs that they're using for the Genepi is similar in their gin.
Because
this would be like minus the sugar, right? Like this would be a very delicious gin. It would be on the, like more herbal side versus kind of some of the like more fruitier ones that are out now.
Yeah,
definitely.
The cucumber or the floral ones, right? Yeah. Yeah. No, their gin is also very good. Yeah, I haven't thought about it that way, but it does make sense.
Let's go down that rabbit hole. Maybe this is the year of some of these traditional spirits. And in 2009, I was in Amsterdam for 10 days, and I was staging at a bar that the owner also had a small distillery. And he was making traditional eau de vies and Genevers.
Yeah, I love
the
them.
same kind of thing. You'd just have a little glass of it. You'd have a beer. You'd have a glass of that. And that's what I have my Wild East, dark English mild, 3%. And I'm having this Genepi. How deep can we go with things like that? It's like Geneva, Genepi,
Aquavit.
Yeah, how deep can we
like
go? 'Cause
Panama has
when my first restaurant in the 90s, Brandon, I got a liquor license, and all I got were top shelf grappas that I would only give to my best customers.
Yeah.
I didn't want any other liquors except for that. And that's the only reason I got the license. So how do we get to that? Like, how can we get to that quality and showcasing it? You understand it's you're running a business, but
Yeah, it's a hard line to walk because, like, really, the majority of the general public, quote unquote, is not looking for this stuff, or they don't know that they are looking for it. At least there's a certain percentage that, like, if you pick up a conversation with them, they'll become interested, and you can talk to them and get them interested in this. But a lot of people will have zero interest in this type of thing. They're going to drink their Bud Light or that thing that they always drink, and that's all they care to drink. And that's okay, too. And you have to, as restaurant operators, we have to sort of walk that line between the two. We have to have some availability for the people that just, they want what they want, and you have to honor that. But you also have to have these more curated things that get everybody else excited.
So, Mike, what do you have this year for 24? Like my daughter turned 21. She's been going out for 6 months, and her other friends are 21 to 25. They're young kids. They go out 3 or 4 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the intro drinks for them?
For me,
you guys would have here.
Oh, for me, a great intro drink that I want to see more of in 2024 are daiquiris. Like a well-made classic daiquiri with an interesting rum is like one of my favorite cocktails wherever I am, because the rum can be so many different things, like these agricole rums from different parts of the world using different sugar canes, all taste different based on where they were grown. Like some of the ones in Haiti, they call them clarin there. They're grown there, they press the juice, they're wild fermented, and then sold. High octane, but so much character. And if you make a daiquiri with those spirits, it's amazing.
Rum is one of the most interesting liquors, though, because it's so widely different. Like, it's just one because it geographically it covers such a large space. I mean, like, people make it all over, but they're so different. There's just such a wide range of rum flavors. It's crazy on its own. So it is really one of the most unique when it comes to this, because it's just like there's a lot of rum flavors that American palates haven't adapted to.
No, they just think rum is a dark,
Bacardi.
sweet,
or like Myers, or
right?
Like,
It's only
those are the
one
only
of those two,
or Malibu, and then you're like, what?
Yeah, fair.
I think that's a really interesting approach, Mike, that you brought up, because you're introducing people to something that's really familiar, but you're actually expanding the breadth of knowledge as to what it is that they're tasting with that base spirit. And I was thinking about things, we've all been talking about a lot of different things. I want to go back east. Thinking about like things that are like soju, and I've had like incredible soju.
You mean east of like Asia?
Yeah, well, definitely east of
New York,
of
east of New
the
York.
Hudson River, definitely. Yeah, and so you think about soju, and there's been some fantastic sojus that I've had. I've had the privilege of having something called makgeolli, which is starting to kind of percolate.
milky.
Correct. Yeah. So
delicious.
yeah, it's. I mean, the analogy would be something like a nigori sake, but like like the Korean version of it, and I don't want to kind of reduce it to that. Wulangi, which is something that's really it's got a lot of different flavor profiles, baiju. There's things that are out there that you can introduce them, with much more accessible flavors. But then you can expand upon that. Once you lock them into like a certain kind of cocktail or the likes.
You know what? This is starting with Genevieve going to this, and Jaime's here. There's so many cultures and so many people from different countries, especially in New York. It sounds like you're onto something. How do we take those flavors? I mean, they get incorporated into your menus, into your cocktails, but how can you push them ahead? You're coming here with some ideas. What do you see that's different here in New York than what you were doing in Chile?
I think everything is cultural. If you don't present it in a way that should or is socially approachable, it's hard to people to get it. It's like what I was saying about the barbecue things. It's a cultural thing we do for everything we do, or any reunion. We're always ready for lighting up the charcoal or the wood, whatever. It's always a fire next to it, so it's part of it. And we're always cooking it, and it's gathering people. This is a cultural thing. It's not just a cooking. It's the experience of being, or reunion, or gathering. So I think if you don't have that, it's hard to spread the word, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, in places like this where the philosophy is community and it's like bringing people together, it's easier to spread these type of ideas. But restaurants aren't all like this. There's a lot of white tablecloth of segregation. You don't care. You don't really want to hear what the people next to you are like. Sometimes it's nice to just be all smashed in together and like have to hear what the person next to you says.
Oh, what's that person drinking right there? Like, what are they singing about?
Yeah.
That's
and not
how I
being
go
weird
out.
about pointing and being like, I want that.
Right.
And like the other person being like, yeah, that this is good. You should have this. And I think more of that has to happen. And I think, hey, not to go down the rabbit hole of like, I'm getting old and shit's changed, but we've lost touch with the communal self, like us being connected to each other. And I think it's really easy in this world with so many distractions that we forget that there's people in front of us that we could connect with. And these drinks, like for hundreds of years, are here to connect us. They're not here for any other reason. People made these things so that people could all sit down at a table and have them together, and they could find a place where they could communicate. And they're really conduits to communication. Like, you drink, it lubricates you, it gets you loose. Like, all of these things, they're here so that people can talk to each other, and they can argue, they could cry, they could laugh, but what they're doing is they're talking, and they're having discourse, and they're like having communication. And I think getting back to some of these like kind of more, I don't want to call them primitive because it's like really like not really what they are, but they're simple, right? They're well crafted, simple vessels to bring people together, like pizza.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll tell you, if like there's a table that had this Genepi there, I would be right there, like hanging out with them. So
It's funny and I see this a lot too here at Roberta's, because we have a couple of communal tables, which you don't see everywhere, but you see this happening all the time with people if they're shoulder to shoulder, sitting next to somebody they don't know, but the alcohol that they're drinking or the food that they're eating will spark a conversation, and next thing you know, they're strangers are talking, which it doesn't happen very often in the U.S. anymore.
Well, you guys are pretty cool. Before I ask you
you're
guys,
cool.
Well, yeah, the embarrassing questions. No, I don't ever do that. But the quote when literally yesterday I said, you know what, we got to do a show to kick off the year in the studio at Roberta's, and you are the guys that made it happen because this is a special place, and you guys this means a lot to me. But James said, you know what, just thought of this. Cool to invite Jaime Ojeda, Mr. Osada, for today's show, also part of the international judging circuit. And when I heard that, Brandon lit up when I told him about that. What the hell is this?
I just want to tag
James,
along.
You're
can
in
I
like,
just like, can I
just
be his
tell us.
assistant?
Yeah, like, James, where have you been judging beers and other drinks in the last 2 years?
I mean,
3 months.
Whatever. Lyon, Frankfurt, Seoul, Florianopolis, Denver, Colorado, whatever, Bridgeport, Connecticut, and a couple coming up in Liverpool, hopefully Melbourne and Cape Town. So
what do you want, an email list or what?
Yes, it's just a list that goes out, to certain people. Yeah.
And then Jaime, and you, where have you been judging the last couple of years?
The couple of years, Europe, Belgium, Brazil, Argentina, Chile.
So what's in Brazil? Is there
United
a
States.
special judging, or there's multiple?
Brazil?
Yeah.
Brazil is kind of unique because it's a big country. Today has the third largest competition in the world. It's happening in Blumenau, March, and is the two biggest one. U.S. has them. Is the World Beer Cup and the Great American Beer Festival, and the third competition they have it, and the singularity is only Brazilian beers. So basically, it's like the second one for only one country. It's like the Great American Beer Festival and Blumenau.
And how many entries are going to Blumenau?
Over 4,000.
So you taste 4,000 beers?
No.
Because I just got real jealous.
No. Usually, I would say in an average per competition, it should be 40, 50 per day. There's
That's a
good
good amount.
There's a good ones you do only 50 in the mornings, and then they take you around and show you around whatever is happening in the industry. So it all depends.
When did you open your brew pub?
Oh, I don't even remember.
Because he's dreaming of a song.
With the Corona, I kind of lose track sometimes because all this was pre-Corona, so the Corona messed up the timeline. But I'd say like eight years ago.
Wow. And then James, for you, just like a snapshot. These international beer competitions, suddenly they're happening in South America too.
Yeah, and it's a really, really interesting kind of scene and interesting sensibility that you're seeing down there. A lot of styles are starting to come out of there. The Santa Catarina Sour, that's a recognized style. It's from Brazil, and so. And the thing that I'm seeing a lot of is the additions in the beers. There are all these different like fruits and woods that I'm just barely kind of like learning, and I'm loving it. It was like Amburano. Thank you. Yeah. That thing is it's an incredible kind of addition to a beer, and so that's kind of the value of going to different places and kind of seeing what the sensibilities look like, from region to region. From country to country, to be honest with you. And I think there's a lot of value there because you're able to kind of be inspired by things, and you can bring them back. And if not even bringing them back, you actually have knowledge of what this is and what's possible in the realm of beer.
Yeah. And Brandon, definitely. For 2024, live fire, you've got wood. Tell us how the pizza ovens work in your restaurant.
Oh, they're hot. Hot as fuck.
But is there wood in there too?
There's wood. There's only wood.
There's wood.
Yeah, there's wood.
So there's wood fire.
Wood fire.
And what about grilling? If you've got this guy wants to do wood fired,
it's the problem in New York for us is it's it comes down to venting, right? You have to have like a dedicated vent line for wood, which is a solid
scrubber
fuel versus and then you have to scrub it because of carbons. So we really just have that one wood fire. We have another one. I mean, there's 5 ovens, like pizza ovens, on this compound. Not including the ones on wheels that you probably see around the whole neighborhood. But and then we have some small, like, Japanese grills. We have a smoker in the back. I mean, we try to use as much wood as we possibly can for as much as we can. We have a spit roast. If you walk around over here, you can see there's like a spit roast. You know, as much as we can get out there and use solid fuel, we do.
Lovely. Last thing to give you a plug, because we love you, man. Without you, there would not be Heritage Radio Network. And thanks for everything you've done for 15 years.
I don't think that's true, but
it'd be somewhere else, you know. But definitely, you know how many guests that wanted to come here just so they could hang out at Roberta's, get a pizza, get your hospitality. At the time, I had been going on Martha Stewart Radio. And you go to Midtown, you have to wait in the waiting area. You get on the show for 20 minutes, then you're out.
Yeah,
that's what radio was.
But you might see Martha Stewart, so you're like...
Oh, no, you didn't see Martha Stewart either.
You might.
You didn't.
But you might.
But last thing. Okay, Roberta's here. We're going over time, but it's the first show of the year. Catered by Roberta's. So I looked online and I saw this thing, Catered by Roberta's.
Yeah, we do it. I mean, it's a big business for us. I mean, like Mike said, in this backyard. I mean, we have 10 weddings a year in the backyard here. And, you know, we had a location in Montauk. We had a bunch of stuff happening there. We cater off-site. We cater in this backyard. It's a good business. We've had it almost as long as we've had Roberta's. Probably for 14 years we've been doing catering out of here, and it is like part of like what keeps this alive. You know, we have all these mobile pizza ovens. We go out, we do a lot of, you know, just pizza cooking, but for the most part our catering team is doing, you know, like Mike said, we call it back kitchen, right? Because we have 2 kitchens here. We have a pizza kitchen and we have a back kitchen. In the back kitchen, they're doing fresh pastas, proteins, vegetables, and for the most part our catering division mostly does that stuff. Like, a lot of times they'll like come out and they'll want some pizzas, but for the most part they're gonna want, like, you know, large format. Either we're doing a whole pig or a goat, or we're doing, you know, large format pasta and salad. So for the most part, like there's probably more of that other food that we get out of the Catered by Roberta stuff.
All right. Well, once again, man, this is the hot spot of Bushwick. Matt Timms. Guy started so many of the cook-offs in New York that influenced a lot of the events that I do.
His beard looks good.
Yeah, man, the guy hasn't changed. So you got listen. Thank you one more time, Brandon, James, Mike, and Mr. Jaime Asao from Chile. This is a cool freaking show. We kicked off the year thanks to Armen, Spendjian, our engineer. Once again, start of our 15th season on Beer Sessions Radio. And hey, thanks so much, Heritage Radio Network. We'll catch you next time on Beer Sessions Radio. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Woo! Thank you.
Thank you.
Pour some of that Genepi, please.
Beer Sessions Radio is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network. Food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.